Welcome to the Digitally Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. It's your host, Austin Ali. I'm joined here today with my co-host with the most, my brother in football, semi-pro, a great and member of Team USA Revolution, who has a game coming up actually tomorrow. He's going to drop that for you all right now. Cortez Branch Jr. Cortez, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Doing great. So yeah, y'all got a game coming up. So why don't you go ahead and drop details for that?
Man, since the last time that I saw you, like things have gotten crazy. So
Yeah.
So Team USA International has gone and gotten the signed contracts, and they've been officially recognized by National Football League and minor league football organization. So football of the Americas. And one of the things that they've been able to do is to put on these showcase games in other countries versus their national teams. As you're well aware of, we've been trying to get football to be, an international sport for a really long time, the American style anyway. And we're finally making like some inroads in that. So we're going to be playing in Costa Rica this Sunday on Super Bowl Sunday. You guys can go and check out the CRFL Sharks page. It's the Costa Rica Sharks football page. Type in CRFL, it's Costa Rica Football League. They actually have one of the Super Bowl trophies right now in their possession. And they're at the Estadio Nacional, which is the national stadium that they play all of their basically what you could say World Cup qualifiers in. Their national team plays in that stadium in San Jose, Costa Rica. So we'll be there. This weekend. We're going to play on Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Time. The Super Bowl starts at 5 Central our time. So it'll be pretty cool to be the quote unquote warm-up game for all those people that are going to go to that stadium to watch the Super Bowl. It'll be great to be the warm-up game for the Super Bowl. Like, it'll be great for American football to see it live at such a high level, and it'll be great to just be in that feeling. Like it's almost like being in the Super Bowl yourself.
100%. I think, like you said, minor league football is definitely providing an outlet and avenue. Obviously, you got the XFL coming back, right after the season concludes. And you also got the USFL also coming back. I mean, still starting, not coming back, but having their second consecutive season after a successful first season. So, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity right now, for minor league football. And like you said, obviously, yeah, anyone can check out CRFL, Team USA Revolution Football. I'm friends with many of the coaching staff on the team. Obviously, my boy Cortez, one of the active players, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that's going on right now. So yeah, y'all definitely check it out. If you're a football lover of passion, if you're a football purist, you can definitely watch that and get in on that. So let's actually.
I got a shameless plug here. So because of these new deals and the fact that football's taken off again after the pandemic, just like you said it would. Yeah. Just like you said it would. You called this years ago. You said football is going to take off again to greater heights than it ever was at as soon as this pandemic is like calmed down. And you were right, man. So the NIL deals allow, professional players, non-professional players, and amateur players to sign endorsement deals and contracts to make money off of their own images, their own likenesses, as well as to promote products and actually put some money in their pockets. Because let's face it, not every athlete makes it to the highest, pay grade of his sport or her sport, or their sport. Not everyone does. And that's, that's not me being PC. That's me being, a coach. That means me being a player. And that's me recognizing that there are other leagues for other people, intergender things that are going on. And everybody can make money off of that. So for me, shameless plug, I got plugged with Lifestyle Bands. Got my own band. That one says Forever Champion. Obviously, this one has my name on it with the American flag and my number. So it's been kind of cool to be a part of that. They have all types of stuff. If you guys ever check out the Lifestyle Bands page, you can get a discount from Asif to you. And that's a 10, that's a 10 off 24 as the promo code for that. So thank Asif for that. He got you there's some cool gear on there too, not just bands. Like if you like shorts, shirts, hats, the whole 9 yards, check it out for yourself.
100%. Y'all, you basically got the plug in, 10% off. So y'all definitely go check that out. Speaking of the Super Bowl, man, let's get right into it. Last weekend, I promised myself I would not come back on here wearing anything red and gold. But hey, man, we just, after a week of decompressing, reflecting, we're going to talk about the NFC Championship game. So obviously, Niners fall to the Eagles 31-7, right? So 24 points. My last guess, also number 24 for the Niners, Anthony Booby Dixon. Right. I mean, he predicted,
he did.
Yeah, he did. He predicted the other way. He predicted Niners would win 38-30-31. It was actually the other way around. But it was 31. Eagles did get 31, but the Niners only got 7. So, I mean, difficult loss. Obviously, Brock Purdy's out, for the remainder of the offseason until he, obviously will not require Tommy John surgery, which is great news. So he could be possibly back before training camp. And essentially now, obviously, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is making his first ever Super Bowl start. He's I think the third or fourth youngest quarterback to start a Super Bowl at the age of 24. And this is going to be the first Super Bowl to feature African-American quarterback. So let me ask you this first. NFC Championship game, for me, once Brock Purdy was out, that was pretty much it. Because when you saw Josh Johnson go in, I mean, even though he was a great USFL player, XFL player, I mean, there's a difference of USFL, XFL, and NFL. I hate to say it, but it was on display, right? But it's because he led the I think XFL, USFL in passer rating, and even though he had that that accolade, you could see how uncomfortable he was, with the team in the practice, based on how he performed against the Eagles, front four, and that
he just wasn't ready for that. Like he wasn't.
Yeah, the Eagles were ready. Obviously, the Eagles were just Hassan Reddick was a menace, right? He went ahead, he knocked Purdy out of the game. Then he went ahead and he basically did the same exact play against Josh Johnson. You thought Kyle Shanahan would maybe switch up that play call a bit, for the tight end, not to block the receiver, but block a defense
pressure for a career backup.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm not saying they shouldn't be ready, but we're talking about the NFC Championship game.
Correct.
We're not talking about week 7. We're talking about the NFC Championship game at the end of a huge season. And let's say you win that game and Purdy's injured and you realize he's not coming back.
Yeah.
You win that game, you're still in the Super Bowl with a guy that, he doesn't know what he's doing anymore.
Right.
And, it's nothing wrong with him. Being a 4th-string quarterback in the NFL is still an accolade. Being able to go into an NFC Championship game is still an accolade. It's not an easy game to play, no matter what people tell you. And I just think that, like, the pressure was the one thing that got to him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that everybody who watched the game the way that we did could see that he wasn't familiar with some of the schemes, an elite defense coming as hard as they possibly can do to a position on that field. Like they were coming at quarterbacks all day long that game. and the fact that you realize that if you somehow happen to get hurt, they don't have anybody else.
Right.
You're looking at a tight end and a running back to play quarterback for the rest of the game. That's what you're looking at.
100%. And I think to your point, right? And I actually, what? I mean, you said you might be wrong. I'm going to completely disagree with you. You're 100% on the money, brother, because everyone on Twitter and everyone, obviously in the 49ers, fan circles, the Niners, Empire and everyone else, right? Everyone who saw that game just saw, how big that moment was and how ready the Eagles defense was. That defensive line was just ready from wire to wire, and obviously Nick Bosa, and if we flip it to the other side of the ball, I mean, the Eagles offensive line was just, I mean, they were not allowing any type of, they were not allowing any leaks, any pressures, from the Niners front four. Probably, if probable defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa was basically balled up, for the majority of the game. I hate to say that because I'm a huge Bosa fan, but it is what it is, right? And I mean, it's even heartbreaking for Niners fans to see George Kittle, saying that, he's like, I never die in my life. I never quit. I never say die. And just to see them, go out like that, after Brock went out, even though C-Mac, ended up getting that, that first, touchdown, right, and then tied up the game 7-7. After that, it just went downhill, and the Eagles
looked like it was going to be a shootout at that point. It was like, oh, I mean, maybe Purdy wasn't, the linchpin here, but when it really comes down to it, quarterback's quarterback.
Yes, sir. And exactly to your point, I think that's pretty much what the difference was. I mean, Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate, Brock Purdy, I mean, an offensive rookie of the year candidate, I mean, not too far off in age, 23 and 24, two of the youngest quarterbacks ever started an NFC Championship game, for the respective teams. So, I think ultimately, I'm looking forward to seeing how Brock gets back. And I mean, if we're staying on to the topic of youth, Trey Lance is now going to be the only healthy quarterback by the time OTA start. Trey Lance has only played 3 games for the past, three seasons that he's been in the league. 2 seasons, I think, right? No, 3 seasons. No, 2 seasons. Right? 2 seasons he's been in the league. So he does have now. I mean, he does have the opportunity, to actually take the bull by the horns and. For at least first couple games, throughout the regular season, he might be able to prove, why he was, drafted number 3 overall. Another great, African-American quarterback prospect. Prospect. I want to be very clear. It's prospect until he proves otherwise, right? Just like how Jalen Hurts was. So I mean, ultimately, the Niners, this offseason, if I'm going to sum it up, I mean, I'm actually kind of excited, but the problem I'm looking forward to is how many free agents they have, unrestricted free agents that they have. And I mean, if I were to pull up that list, there's, I think, roughly 25 or 30. And of those 25 or 30, I think roughly 15 were starters. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely, so we'll see what happens.
Like you would think that after everything that went down with all that, like it would be a situation that would cause them to say, okay, well, what do we need to do now? Do we need to have more quarterbacks on rosters? But in all honesty, it's only going to end in two ways. They're either going to come up with more rules, or they're going to say this is just a freak incident. The guys got hurt, and that's all there is to it. That's what it really comes down to. The question is that going to be enough?
Yeah.
I don't know, honestly. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I don't know if rule changes are going to help the situation.
No. The rule changes aren't going to help. I mean, it's already impossible to play defense in the NFL right now. I mean, and
That's what Richard
ultimately,
Sherman said.
Sherman?
Richard Sherman just said that. He's like, you know that the new things, they want to stop the hip drop tackle, right? The last ditch effort, the holding on for dear life. Let me just, they want to stop that. They want to stop that in the NFL. They want to call that a penalty if you do a hip drop tackle on somebody.
It's funny you mentioned this because, Trent Dilfer was recently on, I don't know if you saw the clip, but he was basically recently, on record to say, I mean, the modern day NFL doesn't impress him because you can't stop guys up the middle. You can't play defense the same way you had to play, 20, 25 years ago. You can't, do the things that Ray Lewis would do. You know what I mean? You can't do the things like cornerback could do when this guy 16 and 80 were playing, with the Niners of the 80s and the early 90s. So, I mean, ultimately, when you think about it, it's a completely different game. Obviously, for player safety, which they prioritize, but if you go to the minor leagues, such as the XFL as well as the USFL, developmental leagues, you even go even one tier further to our game, to our level, right? I mean, to Team USA, right? I mean, you can hit and you can. Those rules are still, the rules have not been changed. The rules have not been altered to make the game safer, And so
the Minor League Football Association, that's actually new for 2023.
right.
So for not Minor League Football Association, but Minor League Football, which is governed now and recognized by the NFL. And that's because of these other leagues. That's USFL coming out. That's because of XFL coming back out. That's because European football is taking off. That's because China has a league.
Yeah.
That's because Brazil and Australia's leagues are thriving right now, and they're only getting bigger. So they got their finger in it. A couple of years ago, they did the Pro Bowl day with Minor League Football Pro Bowl, and they did the NFL Pro Bowl at the same time together at the Pro Bowl. Our friend was there, Cordero.
Yes, sir.
Cordero Mayo. He was there for the Minor League Pro Bowl, and one of the things that they're doing is adopting the new NFL rule set. And so since the rules change, it's going to cause, the guys to be ready for this by the time they get there. So that way you're learning to do these things at a youth level to an adult level to now you're at the professional level. You've been doing these things the whole way up. There's been calls for them to change the high school rule book. There's been calls for them to change the college rule book, because if guys are doing these things in high school and college, in other, amateur or semi-professional or even professional leagues, and they're able to do these things, is it easier to teach them the right way from the beginning, or is it easier to change the way they're doing it as professionals?
That's a good point. I think ultimately, changing the rules, you need to start from the beginning. You got to go all the way to Pop Warner, to junior high, to high school, to really kind of drive that message forward. And, obviously there's a lot of controversy in the NFL this year when they let players such as Tua play when he was injured. Obviously DeMar Hamlin was, it was just a perfect example, right? Sometimes these injuries just happen, but you have to be able to manage them, and you have to be able to, like you said, to your point, right? You basically have to be able to take this injury and kind of assess it and be able to see, what's the benefit of the team, what's the benefit of the player. Ultimately, it's a business at the end of the day. So I mean, they're going to look at the team's benefit too, because you're in the business of winning, right? So ultimately,
Tua was a big one, man. Like me and you were talking about that while we were watching it.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
we were sitting there like that. We were texting up a storm. I don't know if we've texted that much in the last 5 years, let alone that much right there. Like, man, that was just that little exchange was terrible. It's like I remember watching it. We're like, man, Tua just went down.
Yeah.
I get a text from you. You're like, no, he's going back out. And I'm like, there's no way he's going back out there. I had to pop the game back on because, mind you, the people, the family, they all like to go shopping. during the during games, especially during like season games where it's like week 3, 4, 5. We're sitting there texting about it. I'm like, there's no way this dude's going back. I pop it out. Yeah, he is.
My God.
And I'm like, okay, I should have known that, you knew exactly what you were talking about, because that was terrible. It happened to a couple of quarterbacks this year, man. Like, think about it. There's a couple of times where Brock went out there. He got hit real hard a couple of times. Jimmy got hit a couple of times, ultimately knocking him out. Jalen Hurts got hit a few times. He's in concussion protocol. How many times this season? Twice?
Yeah.
Justin Fields is in concussion protocol twice this year. Like, obviously we know that, they're being more sensitive to it. So just because they're in protocol doesn't mean that they have concussions.
Right.
But it's the fact that you got sent there, that your head got snapped all the way back, and 9 times out of 10, you hit the turf.
Yeah.
Your head hit the turf, and what's under that turf for most of the stadiums? It's concrete.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually another point, which a lot of the injuries that have happened this year, because of the surface that they're playing on. If it was pure grass, obviously a lot of Niners who have suffered from injuries, they complained about this earlier in the season, right? When you play on turf and you're trying to pivot, right? I mean, you know this, I know. I mean, on indoor fields, it's a nightmare because you have to wear indoor shoes. But I mean,
Yeah.
if you're playing on turf and you have to pivot, right? I mean, it's a very, very difficult, there's difficult. The surface traction is not the same as it would be on pure grass, And I think ultimately with the Niners, I mean, with all the injuries we have, I think that's another issue that we have also faced in terms of not necessarily we, but the Niners organization have faced, in terms of being able to manage those players, right? In terms of safety, because if you don't, the practice facility as well as Levi's, right? I don't know if the surface is still refitted or still, if it's still grass or AstroTurf. But it needs to be consistent, not just within, one team, but the entire league, in my personal opinion.
Explain. Okay. When we're 17, 18, maybe, turf feels amazing.
Yeah.
You're faster than you ever were on turf.
Yeah.
Because it's so even. It's just like gliding across, the turf. It's great. And then you get a little older and you've been playing for a little longer, and you realize that like this turf is not as sturdy as far as keeping me upright as I would like it to be.
Yeah.
You also encounter worn out turf. There's no root system in turf. In grass, the very least is there's a root system. The grass is being held into the ground by roots. So you have a little bit more traction. You might feel slower on grass, but you're more sure-footed. On top of it, you can get injured, you can get a concussion, you can get hurt on any ground. But the thing about grass is grass kind of has, most of the time, if it's properly maintained, it's nice and soft.
Yeah.
And even if you're getting hit and going down, you're sliding in mud. You're taking some of the grass with you. You're getting grass stains. For the most part, it's getting hit and falling down is never going to be good for your body. But there are certain things that make your body, feel better when you're going through it. I'd much rather land on the grass than the turf any day. They both have their advantages. I can't argue against either one of them. I prefer half and half depending on where I'm playing at and when I'm playing. If I'm playing in Las Vegas, I want to be on turf. If I'm playing, in California, I might want to be on grass.
Yeah.
It just depends on where you're playing at. What season you're playing in, what the weather is like. All those things are huge for football.
100%. No, I totally agree with you on that, right? It depends also, like you said, weather conditions, right? That really has a factor in kind of, what surface you're playing at. I mean, see, that's the thing, right? It's hard to find a one size fits all solution, right? But I do think that, taking these steps, at least to kind of, make a standard, for all stadiums across the league, we could definitely see, I mean, that's my theory, but I do think we'll see a drop in some of these injuries. I mean, the Niners have just been historically bad in terms of getting players injured year in, year out. Like you said, Jimmy, and but then again, to your point, the league as a whole had so many injuries, like, with all the quarterbacks, young, athletic, great quarterbacks, gifted quarterbacks, at least once or twice being concussion protocol or just being out, like Jimmy or right.
The Niners got 4 hurt quarterbacks this season. Four injured quarterbacks that could not throw a pass by the end of the season. 4.
It's and I think it's just bad luck at part, but I do think there is some there is some truth to obviously the surface, but also some of the play calling, such as Trey, trying to be run up the middle instead of leaking on the side, Jimmy obviously being a statue in the pocket, but I do think Brock's injury was just a freak injury. And I think that's just a bad scheme design. I think, like we just talked about, putting a tight end on the defensive player of the year candidate is not the move. But anyways, enough about the Niners, enough about the NFC Championship game. I think, I had a great season, all things considered, like you said, because with all the injuries and all the kind of, the injuries, especially to the quarterback position that they had to suffer, and you had a rookie quarterback step in and basically just set historical numbers, leading the NFL in passing touchdowns, and passing yards, and passer rating. By the time he entered, I believe, was it week 13 or week 11, whatever it was, through the end of the season.
You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of the NFL script. How many rookie quarterbacks do we see that came out of nowhere and decided to lead their team to victory? It's kind of the NFL script. Like, notice one goat's on his way out, as they called him. How did A-Rod get his job? The old man is out. Look at Drew Bledsoe. Tom Brady comes in and saves the day. Tony Romo comes in there and saves the day. Now Dak Prescott did the same thing. Comes in there and saves the day. This is kind of how it works. Tony Romo, for you guys who didn't know, Tony Romo went to Eastern Illinois University. That's EIU here in Illinois.
Where Jimmy Garoppolo also went. Also EIU Panther alum. Yep.
Yeah. So you guys didn't know that. And that's why I was making sure that I brought that up. Because I know you know that.
Yes, sir.
So it was it's rough, man. Arian Foster's out here saying that the whole NFL is scripted. I don't know. I can't tell you that because I don't think everybody's in on it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's some truth to the referees being like what I saw with the Niners. I'm not going to cry, bitch. The Eagles were the better team, wire to wire. But there was some definitely tic-tacky calls that were called on the defense on more than one drive. Because I do think that there is there is a marketing aspect of having 2 MVP candidates in the Super Bowl, having 2 black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, which is great for the league. It's great for everyone, to see that. The
Kelce brothers.
Yeah, the Kelce brothers, the Kelce Bowl. Obviously, there's a lot of different. The Eagles are more
Andy Reid.
Yeah, Andy Reid playing his form. There's too many storylines with the Eagles and the Chiefs. It makes too much sense. But again, the Niners lost. The Eagles were a better team. They were out schemed, out coached. I think Kyle Shanahan just shot himself in the foot more than once. During that game. And I think once Brock went out, that was pretty much it. So I think, the Eagles were just a wire-to-wire better team. They've been the best team all year. 14-3, that's not by mistake. But we'll see.
They only lost one game with Jalen Hurts?
Just one game. Jalen Hurts is, I believe, was he 15-1 as starter? Yeah, 15-1 as starter.
So yeah, they lost one game.
So ultimately, this Eagles team is, Jalen Hurts. For anyone who thought he wasn't for real, I felt like he was, coming out of the draft, because of what they could do. I wish I could pull the receipts on my Facebook if I didn't deactivate my account, but I pull those receipts right now to me arguing folks saying that Jalen Hurts would definitely be, a great player, for any team and any franchise. And look, he basically proved me right. I wish it was on my Niners for that reason. But we do have Brock Purdy, so I'm looking forward to seeing how Brock Purdy develops.
I will say, and this is my prediction, I will say that it is the Eagles' Super Bowl to lose.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'm no salt, no stones thrown at Patrick Mahomes. None whatsoever. Patrick Mahomes has earned his spot, and Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks in our league right now. But I will say this. Patrick Mahomes is still injured. High ankle sprains don't heal in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how much medicine they shoot you up with, you're still going to feel it. I predict Patrick Mahomes will be shuffling by the second quarter. If the Eagles are coming at him any type of way that they came at San Francisco, Patrick Mahomes is going to be in for a long night.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate to say this, but I love to say this because, Tom Brady retired. But if any team showed another team how to beat Kansas City Chiefs, It was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They showed how to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, what you have to do, what type of players you need to have, what dynamic abilities they need to have to get through there. And I think that the Eagles got what it takes.
I'm gonna actually take one step further. I think you're right on the sense that the Buccaneers proved that they had the blueprint to beat the Kansas City Chiefs 2 years ago in the Super Bowl when they played each other. But I think as far as this case is concerned, the Cincinnati Bengals actually showed what it takes to beat the Chiefs. I mean, Joe Burrow's 3-1, in his career against the Chiefs. But I do think that
Bengals got robbed.
Yeah, they got robbed. And I think ultimately, the Bengals getting robbed. I mean, I think obviously a play at the end of the game, and like the missed call, bad call. I mean, I think that's why the Eagles, to your point, should definitely be the favorite, because wire to wire, I think the Eagles are the most complete team in the NFL. I think they have no weaknesses. I mean, I can't see any weaknesses. Maybe the only weakness is, like they say, the quote unquote gimmick quarterback. And so far in the playoffs, he has shown that he can make the throws.
Can we address that?
Mm-hmm.
Let's address that.
Yeah.
Josh Allen ran for close to 1,000 rushing yards this season.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody calls him a gimmick quarterback.
Right.
Josh Allen threw for less touchdowns than Jalen Hurts did in more games.
Right.
Justin Fields, who's only played a fraction of the last 2 seasons, both times, puts up stellar numbers, and he's throwing to you. And you've been retired for years. Yeah, you got Chase Claypool, but you throw Chase Claypool in there at the end of the trade deadline, and he hasn't had a chance to look at a playbook. Chase Claypool has been playing with Ben Roethlisberger and Mitch Trubisky. They're nothing like Justin Fields in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Yet nope. Justin Fields puts up record numbers in almost every game of the season. Yeah, he had some, if he throws, what quarterback doesn't? Nobody's talking about the fact that both Trevor Lawrence and my man Justin Herbert are throwing interceptions, sometimes back-to-back interceptions.
Yeah.
In a game. But you want to talk about it if Jalen Hurts does it. You want to talk about it if Justin Fields does it. You want to talk about it if our guy Geno Smith does it. You want to talk about it, let's go take a step further. Because he was, historically bad this year. But Russell Wilson goes up there and lays goose eggs every game. And instead of worrying about what type of system that they're all in, what's causing the problem, you say they're gimmick quarterbacks. No, these guys can run. These guys can throw. Michael Vick was running and throwing in year 11?
Yeah.
You guys remember he was on the Eagles that historic year? He took over for Donovan McNabb, breaking records in Washington. Y'all remember that? Yeah. Yeah, I remember it.
Cam Newton
every week. Oh. Cam Newton wasn't terrible. He got old.
Yep.
You guys forget that Cam Newton wasn't a one and done or two and done college player. Cam Newton went to 3 different colleges. You forgot that he was at Florida. You forgot that he was at JUCO. And then you forgot that he was at Auburn winning Heisman's. It baffles me that people forget that he's just old.
Yeah.
He's old and he's big. That's what happens. Cam Newton played more seasons, has better numbers than some of the guys we consider Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Some of the guys you guys watch on TV on Sunday mornings who are giving play-by-play and their predictions, Cam Newton had a better career than those guys. Some of those quarterbacks that you watch didn't even win championships. They just played. That includes Tony Romo. He didn't win any championships. Not a single one. Or we're going to forget that John Elway lost a bunch of them before he won some.
Right.
The fact that Dan Marino never won one. Okay, so these guys are on year 2. It's hard to believe, but they're on year 2. Both Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields, year 2 quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa, year 2 quarterback. Give these guys a chance. The game has changed. at every level, we go and watch the game, and the guys look like Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, even the other guys who you guys aren't talking about, or you guys talk about them, we talk about them in a different light, like Josh Allen. It's no different. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, all of these guys who are looking to be the next elite crop of quarterbacks, they're all on their first or second years. Give them a chance to grow up and play football. We're enjoying it. That's all we got to say about it. Our legends are gone. Tom Brady took the rest of our legends out. They're retired. They're all gone. Roethlisberger is gone. Breeze is gone. Brady's gone. Rodgers will be gone soon. Yeah, I have more than a couple years left in him. Maybe one. If that, he might retire. So you guys need to give these guys a chance. This happens every 10 years, man. Every 10 years this happens to where the greats are out. A new crop of greats are out. We'll see. We'll be seeing them on Sunday. They'll be calling the games. You can watch them that way. Watch YouTube and watch the films. You watch us first, though.
Yes, sir. Watch us first. Let's do final score predictions for the Super Bowl. Actually, you go first. Who you got?
I'm going to go 35-21 Eagles.
Ooh, wow. 14 points. I'm going to go, and I might get flack for this, but I'm going on whim. I'm going to go 33-29 Chiefs.
That'll be good.
Yeah, that'll be good.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much, if his ankle holds up, that's a good possibility of that happening, man.
Very, very, but again, you're right. It's really contingent on the health of him, as well as, that entire O-line. The defense of the Chiefs will look suspect more than once this year, and the Eagles are probably the best offense that they played this season, minus the Niners post that Week 8, blowout. But anyways, I've already had, many Hall of Famers on the show.
Mistake-free football, man. That's what they got to play. Mistake-free football.
Exactly. All the Super Bowl champions and, obviously Hall of Famers, Randy Cross, Dexter Carter, right? Super Bowl starter, Anthony Dixon, Boobie Dixon, they all say the same thing, right? Mistake-free football, whoever makes less mistakes is going to be the team that's going to be out on top at the end of the game. So we'll see how it all shapes out. Now we'll pivot from football to another topic, pro wrestling, which I haven't talked about in a long time because now we just had the Royal Rumble. And we got to get into that. We got to get into Raw and SmackDown this last week. And so let's just get right into it. I'm going to talk about the Royal Rumble because, that was one of the best pay-per-views I've seen in recent memory, in my opinion. Men's Royal Rumble match, maybe it was lacking, right? But I did think that there were some really cool spots, really good moments, like Logan Paul, Ricochet. Obviously, Cody coming out number 30. Cody and Gunther kind of being the last two guys. When we were on the podcast, we were talking about Gunther, right? Being a guy who could work, but we weren't really sure what his potential was. Now, being the second to last elimination, or being the last elimination of the Royal Rumble, that kind of shows the WWE does have plans for him, at the very least. So let's just kind of talk about the Royal Rumble. Obviously Roman Reigns, Sammy, the bloodline breaking up. I got to meet Rikishi back in November, at the autograph signing, the Saks Sports Card Expo.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna go there.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm gonna add to what you just, put out there.
Yeah.
What WWE has pivoted to has created what I call a wealth of talent, but also a wealth of problems, at least on the men's side. I can see parallels on the women's side, but it's a lot more thin than the men's side. So I'm going to ask you to give me, just off the top of your head, give me your main event threats right now.
Man, main event threat. So obviously outside of Cody, because they were playing this for a while, and it was almost like a Triple H-esque return. That promo he cut on Raw last week was one of the best promos I've seen in recent memory. So, anyways, I'm not going to go
on the right track. You're on the right track. So
yes,
we got Cody.
Now, Sammy.
We got Sammy.
Yes. Because and I want to say this about Sammy. Obviously that character arc with the bloodline is one of the best storylines as well that I've seen, from WWE in recent memory. Just because of how they built that drama. Roman's promo cutting skills is very underrated. I think the issue that we had in the past when he was being forced over, when he really wasn't over, and as a face, those have basically been alleviated with him as a heel. Of course, he's been overexposed.
You're getting right there. So we got Roman, we got Sammy, we got Cody.
Okay. Yeah. Tie it off.
We got legitimately Drew McIntyre.
Mhm.
You have Sheamus, Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley.
Mhm.
Whenever he returns, Randy Orton.
Yep.
You have Kevin Owens. And I'm trying to think. I think there's a tip. Oh, there's always the outlier, the Kofi, the gender, the guys that they can throw in to have a great match. And no one's gonna agree with me on this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. There's the NXT guys that are always lurking, like Gargano
Braun Breaker.
and Braun Breaker, and I gotta say it's always my dark horse pick for the guy that'll just throw a monkey wrench at anything and just pop up and have a championship match. Dolph Ziggler. Will he win that championship match? Probably not, but they always throw him in there and he has a fantastic match. Now that's non-legends. So before, if you remember a couple of years ago, we didn't have guys that legitimately you thought that guy could be the champ. I forget about guys like Miz, but he's kind of like doing nothing at the moment. But Seth Rollins, those are guys that can always win the championship.
Right.
Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt. What I'm saying is there is a and now LA Knight, there's a wealth of guys who could come in and have a championship match with any of these top name guys. And the match is going to be good. The build's going to be good. It's going to be awesome. And that's not even saying whatever happens in the Elimination Chamber. You got that douche Austin Theory that's still sitting in there. And he has got some better character development since over the last 6 months because he's working a lot harder, in my opinion. It still is that douchey new guy look. I get it. Same old stick. But so that brings me back to this bloodline that you mentioned. Do you remember, did you watch a full SmackDown last week?
I did.
Do you remember the spot that cut in? They were giving like a history of the bloodline.
Oh yeah.
And one of the first things they showed was Roman Reigns super punching, the Superman punching Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
To get Paul Heyman to go back to Brock Lesnar to set up Brock Lesnar while he fights Roman Reigns to keep the titles.
Yeah.
All of that was a setup. The whole nine. What if Sammy is going to pull our finger poke of death moment in 2023?
Ooh, see, I didn't even consider that, because they're having that Elimination Chamber match, and it's the promo and obviously the authenticity of what we saw. Back to your point about SmackDown last week, Sammy cutting that promo saying, "Roman, I never wanted anything from you, but now I want everything. I want to take everything from you." But something just tells me, even though they could definitely throw a monkey wrench, and Triple H has shown that he's definitely capable of giving us these wild cards.
The double cross.
The double cross,
loves
right?
The double cross.
Yeah.
Triple H double cross Shawn Michaels. Did he not?
He did. Yes.
He double crossed Shawn Michaels.
He did. Yes.
We never saw it coming. I remember watching it as a kid. I remember watching Shawn Michaels' triumphant return to the WWF. And he realigned with Triple H, and they went out there and they kicked everybody's ass. And they went up the ramp, and then Triple H looked at Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels looked at him, and Triple H goes, and they beat the crap out of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
He kicks him out of there, beats the crap out of him. Shawn Michaels is off TV for a couple of weeks. The next week comes down, he introduces X-Pac, Road Dogg, and Billy Gunn. A couple years later, Shawn Michaels is right back in the fold. Him and Triple H are having epic matches. The Elimination Chamber.
Yes, sir.
Match with Shawn Michaels and Triple H. And Shawn Michaels wins the title again since the 1997. First chance in giving back. Was it 2002, I want to say?
2002. Yes, sir.
Now that is epic storytelling, and Triple H had a hand in all of that. So it's possible that there's a double cross coming, especially because WWE doesn't like to throw away like vignettes.
Yeah.
They usually mean something when they put something out there. Everything that we've seen over 3 years with the bloodline, why that specific moment? Why Roman punching Paul Heyman? Is that synonymous with Roman and the rest of the bloodline beating the crap out of Sammy, and Sammy coming back and doing the exact same thing? Is it the overplay for the underlay, who's gonna say?
Ooh, I like that. I overplay for the underlay. Who's gonna say? Let's see. We'll find out. Obviously, Elimination Chamber, Sammy versus Roman for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. I believe the Women's Championship is going to be also the contender for Bianca Belair will be determined at the Elimination Chamber match. U.S. Championship match, for number one contender will be determined for Austin Theory. I mean, there's going to be a lot of storylines. I mean, the question I have is, let's say Sammy. I mean, I don't know if they're going to let Sammy win because I mean, the whole buildup for me has been obviously since Cody got injured last year, it's been Cody and Roman, and I think that's kind of the thing. I think they're trending towards Cody and Roman for the Universal Championship. The question is, are they going to give one of the belts to Sammy, or is Sammy going to somehow work his way into that match to make it a triple threat? I don't know. You know what I mean? And I guess the question is has Sammy proven he's going to be a world heavyweight champion or kind of, a world champion, kind of figure, it's funny. I was watching WWE rival Stone Cold Steve Austin and, obviously Austin, when he started, he wasn't actually going to be a WWE champion. But Vince McMahon, basically, when he started Stunning Steve, he said, this guy's wasting my time. He's wasting my money, because he couldn't find himself. He was kind of confused on how to work the ringmaster gimmick. And then, I mean, just by the sleight of hand, the cards that were dealt, Triple H being suspended and also winning the King of the Ring, essentially, I think that's one of the things that, I mean, you never know what
if
can
we
happen.
Don't have the curtain call, we don't get Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Correct, we don't.
And we might have gotten another version of Stunning Steve Austin. He might have went back to the Ringmaster. He might have just gone back to WCW because that's what a lot of other people were doing.
Yeah.
But Triple H pretty much getting benched for the time being allowed for Stone Cold Steve Austin to become a superstar in the company.
Yeah.
That match with Bret Hart, and this is what I have to tell people, and I'm not going sentimental on everybody, but one of the reasons why I love professional wrestling is because everything is connected. Almost nothing happens for no reason in professional wrestling. And what that teaches me about life is 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we'll be thinking about something that happened today that set us up for the success that we always wanted. But we have to remember that if we did not set ourselves up, or that moment didn't happen, or even if it was a hardship, that still gave us what we wanted. And I would go on to say that in some ways Triple H is in a better spot than Steve Austin. In some ways, Steve Austin is in a better spot than Triple H. In some ways, Shawn Michaels is in a better spot than all of them. But the thing about it is they all have their own stories. They all ended up somewhere great. And none of it would have been possible if people were unwilling to at least give them an opportunity to do so, or at least redeem themselves when they made mistakes. Because at the end of the day, we're all people.
Yeah.
I think this new culture, it's not a political podcast, but this new culture that we live in right now where people don't get second chances, what's wrong with y'all? Isn't they all perfect? Just live your best life, man. For real, live your best life. Whatever makes you happy, live your best life.
That's
all anybody can ask for.
No, I mean, I agree with you. Woke culture is kind of killing everything. And I think that's one of my issues, being on social media. That's kind of why I've taken a break because of that reason. Outside of Twitter, because it's just, I mean, I can't stand woke culture. I mean, it's just, and it is what it is. But ultimately, I think to your point, like you said, you're right. The uniqueness of each of the characters, the character arc, the redemption arcs that came with each one of the characters that we talked about, as they rose and they fell and they rose up again. I think that's kind of really the big thing that, that's like you said, and each one of them have their own kind of highs that the other ones cannot eclipse. But I do think, like we just talked about, Sammy, Roman, this is money. And I think also Cody, I mean, it's still money. And, I think
Cody and did you watch the promo that Cody gave with Paul Heyman?
Oh, no, I didn't see that. Was that yesterday?
Man, last night's promo, I am not going to ruin this for you. That's how good the promo was.
Yes, sir.
Last night's promo added Cody to the mix in a way that was purely organic.
Yeah.
And WWE and other companies have made mistakes before when a character organically gets over. That wasn't the intention to get this character as far as they got him, but it got him over. It wasn't the intention at all, but sometimes they fumble. Like, I hate to say it, like they fumbled Kofi Mania. They fumbled it. You had it. You caught lightning in a bottle. You had it, and you ended it for no reason. And you ended it in a way that was semi-finite and hard to argue against. And I don't agree with that kind of booking. So if it was Vince that made that decision, you suck for that. But then again, you suck for a lot of stuff. If it wasn't Vince, whoever made that decision to end Kofi's reign the way that it ended, he didn't deserve that. And nothing makes up for it. Nothing will ever make up for it. You don't build people up to tear them down. That's not what you do.
Yeah.
You not in that industry. Not in that industry. You don't build people to tear them down. You let the wrestlers tell stories, but you don't destroy them as people. And that's been the biggest problem in that industry for the longest. Is you're destroying people as people instead of characters. And Kofi wasn't the same for a while, bro. Like, I know you watched the episodes that came after that. Kofi wasn't the same after that.
No.
It took him a while to get back to normal. It really did. Now, and some might argue that he's still not back to normal. It's one of those things. Sammy said that I hope that somebody else in charge. Sammy's not going to get fumbled the same way Ali's been fumbled.
Yeah, Ali's been fumbled big time. Oh my God.
Like, dude went to my high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was there,
Yeah,
he was cool. He's a real cool dude, man. Like, I can't claim to know him anymore because I don't. It's been so many years since I've been in high school. I think the last time he was in the same high school as me was like, what, 19 years ago, maybe?
yeah.
So I don't know him. You know what I'm saying? I know who he is. Went to school with him. He was a year earlier than me, I believe. He graduated in 05. He's a good dude. His brother is on like a bunch of state councils and town, government events. Good man. You know what I mean? I think that he doesn't have his desserts either. Dude's tremendously talented. And he doesn't get his just desserts. He's great on the mic, he's great in the ring. He's in Dolph Ziggler territory right now, though. Yeah, I'm saying he's too good. He's too good, man. Ricochet was in the same boat until he linked up with Braun Strowman, ironically.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a little bit before that because he got the Intercontinental Championship thing that he was doing. But only time's gonna tell. I think this is gonna be great. I think when you see this promo, and I'm struggling to not talk about it, but you see this promo, you're gonna see how organic it was getting Cody in there, and how this makes sense now.
100%.
So,
yep.
There's a lot of rumors rolling around. There's a lot of future things that could possibly happen. I just want to watch it.
I just want to watch it. Yes, sir. So I guess some final closing thoughts for this episode. Let's talk about kind of what your predictions are for both Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania.
Elimination Chamber, obviously, I'm going to say Austin Theory retains. You don't drive out in the Lambo to not retain. It's going to be an excellent match, but it's not for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Right.
It's not for the Universal Championship, and it's not for the Undisputed Championship. So
right.
I think that the Austin's going to retain.
And then for Sammy and Roman.
Oh, I don't think the match finishes. I think it's going to be like a disqualification. Roman Reigns wins.
Yeah, something like that. I
think what's going to happen is, now this is my own fantasy booking, and if Jey Uso is really out of the bloodline, then he'll super kick Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns will keep the championship, and then he'll walk away. Or Kevin Owens will come out and hit Sammy, and Roman will keep the championship. Do I think that Jay kicks Sammy? No. I think Jay's either going to kick Roman or Kevin Owens is going to hit Sammy. Kevin Owens is going to come out support and screw Sammy. Probably because Sammy had been screwing him for months.
Yeah.
So the week afterwards, it'll be Roman Reigns telling Sammy, you threw away everything for him.
Right.
And then we're going to get Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. And then maybe Sammy will then somehow get thrown into the mix. I think Cody, yeah, I'm gonna go with Roman retains, and I'm gonna go with Cody, is gonna get over Roman at WrestleMania. I mean, that's just what I mean. The card's been dealt, and it's been that way.
Cody wins at Mania. The only way I see Roman retaining at Mania is something ridiculous happens.
Yeah.
Whether it's, I know this is not going to happen. It's going to have to be it's going to be a family ties thing, because as you'll see from the promo tonight, this is ingrained in family. It'll be something weird, man. It'll be a situation where Paul Heyman does something weird and Roman retains. That'll only be the only way. Or The Rock comes out and does something to Cody. Something that we're not thinking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It won't be anything as straightforward as what we think it is. It's going to be a work.
We'll see what happens. I'm excited. So pretty much we got our picks for the Super Bowl, WrestleMania, Elimination Chamber. Y'all can follow you Team USA, USA Revolution, CRFL. For against Costa Rica coming up. So Cortez, my brother, thank you for joining. Any final thoughts before we close out today?
You can go to our website at USA fi.com. You can make donations to there if you'd like to help support international American football. As you can see, my number is 24. If you want to make any donations to me, I would greatly appreciate it. That helps me continue to spread American football across the world and in the correct form. Also, you can do the same thing by going to lifestylebands.com and using the promo code 10OFF24. So that's the number 10 off the number 24, and buy whatever you want. I really do got to say it's more than just a band. They have over 300 different sayings, styles, colors, and things that you might want to represent for yourself, or just to remind yourself every day. I look down at my band and I say, I'm forever a champion. I've got a few championships under my belt, hopefully another one by the end of this week.
Yeah.
And I remind myself every day that I'm never too old and I'm never too young to keep going.
100%. Yes, sir. That's Files. Great closing thoughts, powerful words, my brother. Y'all definitely go check that out. But anyways, we know we're going to sign off today. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back on soon. Cortez, appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, man.